Hi guys, Card Labs here, and welcome to part 1 of how to play Yu-Gi-Oh! I've started this series as I know there are a lot of people out there, including some friends of mine, that have been put off getting into the game because of how complex it has become. I plan on making this a multiple part series and divide it into beginner, intermediate, and advanced levels to make it easier to digest. The first video is going to be long enough as it is, so without further ado, here's the basics of Yu-Gi-Oh! Part 1. The game board of Yu-Gi-Oh! Is comprised of 30 total zones between the two players and is referred to as the field. Each player has one main deck zone, one extra deck zone, one field card zone, and one graveyard. You also have 5 main monster zones, and 5 spell or trap zones, 2 of which are additionally pendulum zones. These are indicated by the arrows. Lastly, there are 2 extra monster zones that are shared by both players, but for now, don't worry too much about these 2 zones. Normal monsters, often referred to as vanilla monsters, have a beige background, with their name, attribute, and level, indicated by the number of stars, at the top of the card. In the text box below, we have the type, as well as their attack and defense points. Effect monsters are identical to normal monsters, except they are a darker, browner colour, and in their text boxes, the card effect is written. Both normal and effect monsters are part of your main deck of cards. Pendulum monsters also go in your main deck, but are a little more complicated and will be explained with more detail in their own video. Simply put, they have 2 text boxes. One is the monster effect, and the other is the spell card effect. As indicated by their half-green colour, you can choose to use them as either spells or monsters. Spell cards will be explained shortly, but the last thing to note is the pendulum scale number on the card. Ritual monsters aren't seen as often these days, but are another main deck monster. They require a ritual spell card in order to summon them, and a tribute of another card or cards of an equal level. Fusion monsters are also the same as effect monsters and normal monsters, only with a purple background, and will always list the materials required to fusion summon them within their text box. We will go more in depth how to summon all of these monsters in another video. Fusion monsters, as well as the remaining monster cards in this list, go in your extra deck. XYZ or Xyz monsters differ by having a rank instead of a level, and is displayed on the other side of the card. Similar to fusions, the materials required to summon them are also listed in the text box and are black in appearance. Synchro monsters have a silver backing and also list the required materials to make them. Note that they require a tuner monster to summon them. This is a type of effect monster. Link monsters differ a little bit more from the rest of the extra deck monsters. Aside from being blue, they do not have defense points and instead have a link rating. The required materials are still listed in the same place as the other extra deck monsters. However, these can only be summoned from your extra deck to the extra monster zone or to a main monster zone another link monster is pointing to. You'll notice that link monsters have arrows pointing in one or more directions for this game mechanic. Spell cards are green in appearance and are placed in any of the spell and trap card zones to activate them. In their text box, the effect of the spell card is written. The exception to this is field spells, indicated by this symbol. They go in the field card zone. Where a monster's level would be, they normally have the words spell card, although magic card is printed on a few very old cards. They also have a symbol if they are a special type of spell card. Lastly, we have trap cards. These purple cards also go in the spell and trap zone, being placed face down and cannot be used that same turn, but unlike most spell cards, they can be used on your opponent's turn. As your opponent will not know what your face down card is, you can use these on your opponent's turn to interrupt and surprise them. When a monster card is destroyed, it is sent to the graveyard. In a similar manner, when a spell card is used, after its effects have resolved, it goes to the graveyard. The same rule is applied to trap cards. There is one other unlisted zone called the Banished Pile. Some older cards refer to this as removed from play. In most cases, this is to remove them from the game. However, some strategies use their banished cards to gain advantage. Each player uses a 40 to 60 card main deck consisting of monsters, spells, and traps. This deck goes in the main deck zone. You can also have an extra deck consisting of fusions, synchros, xyzs, and link monsters of up to 15 cards. These are normally your most powerful cards and are sometimes used as a toolbox to help adapt to any situation. Of course, this goes in your extra deck zone. Each player starts by shuffling their deck and allowing their opponent the final cut. They then will draw 5 cards from their deck. At the beginning of each turn, you draw 1 card from your main deck, unless you are going first. But if the duel goes on long enough, you will run out of cards to draw from your deck. Then you lose the duel. This is known as decking out. At the end of your turn, you must discard cards to the graveyard if you're holding more than 6 cards. However, this rarely happens. Each player starts with 8,000 life points, and the objective of the game is to make your opponent's life points hit 0. This is most commonly done by having your monsters battle your opponent's monsters, or attacking your opponent's life points directly when they have no monsters left. We will touch more on how to deal damage and battle opponent's monsters in another video. If you made it to the end, even if you already knew these rules, thank you so much for watching, and if you like the idea of this series, please like, comment and subscribe, as it will make a massive impact for us as a new channel, and this type of content does take some time to make. Until then, I'll see you in the next video.